The annual Bumont family party was happening at my brother Dorian's very old and fancy house in Savannah, Georgia. It was one of those big, glittering parties where everyone dresses in the fanciest clothes and pretends to be more important than they are. The house itself was huge and beautiful, with tall ceilings, shiny floors, and a grand staircase that seemed to go on forever. I arrived 30 minutes late. I did it on purpose. While my brothers and sisters wore sparkling gowns and glittering jewelry, I wore a simple dark gray pantsuit. It was neat and stylish, but not flashy. I wanted to look calm and serious, not like someone trying to compete with them. "Look who finally showed up," Dorian called from the staircase, holding a glass of champagne and smiling that confident smile he always wore when he thought he was better than everyone else. "Odette, the office clerk forever," he added, laughing a little too loudly. Everyone around him laughed politely too. These were the kind of people who liked to show off: surgeons, tech founders, corporate lawyers, and venture capitalists. They were all proud of themselves and what they had achieved. I was supposed to be the failure of the family. Everyone thought I was just a regular office worker at Sterling Holdings. My sister-in-law, Cressida, was there, wearing a sparkling diamond necklace that shone under the chandelier lights. She smirked at me as if to say, "Look at me. I am important. You are nothing." I smiled a little and took a small sip of my champagne. I didn't need to answer her. I had something much bigger waiting for them. Just then my phone buzzed. A message from my real assistant appeared. The big Forbes article about me was going to go live in 10 minutes. Perfect timing. My mother, sitting near the fireplace with her pearls and her elegant dress, looked at me sharply. "Odette, when will you do something important with your life? You're 32 years old." I glanced around the room. My brothers and sisters had already done what everyone thought was success. Dorian had built a huge real estate empire. Magnolia, my sister, was a famous cosmetic surgeon who helped celebrities look perfect. Cashin, my other brother, ran a tech company. They all looked proud of themselves. "I'm comfortable where I am," I said calmly, glancing at my watch. "Comfortable?" Magnolia scoffed. "You rent a tiny one-bedroom apartment and drive a Honda. That's not success." Another message buzzed. My heart beat a little faster. The New York Times headline was appearing across devices. My father raised his glass. "Let's toast Dorian's latest success. He's just acquired 10 luxury properties in downtown Savannah." Dorian beamed. "Yes, prime locations. By next week, the deal will be finalized. The Bumont name will own the city skyline." I hid my smile behind my glass. I waited. 3, 2, 1. Suddenly, the room changed. Every phone, tablet, and computer lit up. Notifications buzzed everywhere. People were whispering and pointing at their screens. Dorian froze, staring at his phone, his hand shaking slightly. Magnolia's face turned pale. My mother's hand clutched her pearls tighter than ever. The headlines were everywhere. Forbes and the New York Times were showing my face, and the news said, "Sterling Holdings CEO revealed as billionaire developer controlling Savannah's largest real estate portfolio." Everyone in the room gasped. I smiled calmly at them. "This has to be a mistake," my father stammered. "No mistake," I said evenly, setting down my champagne flute. "Sterling Holdings owns all those luxury properties. And not just in Savannah. We own buildings in Charleston, Atlanta, and many other cities." Dorian's voice trembled. But you're an assistant. You can't own all that." I laughed quietly. "Executive assistant," I corrected. "At least that's what you all thought. In truth, I'm the founder and CEO of Sterling Holdings. I started the company 12 years ago, right after you all laughed at me for going to the University of Georgia instead of Harvard." Magnolia whispered, her voice shaking. "That's impossible. Sterling is worth $9 billion. "Yes," I said calmly, smiling. "And it might be worth even more once today's news spreads." More phones buzzed. The headlines now read, "Local assistant revealed as billionaire developer, controlling southern real estate market." Dorian looked as though he had seen a ghost. "You knew?" Dorian asked slowly. "Of course I did," I said, letting my smile grow. "I knew about every deal you chased. It's hard to compete when you don't even realize your rival has been in the room all along." The room was quiet. My mother blinked in disbelief. Magnolia's mouth was slightly open. Dorian's hands were shaking as he gripped his phone. I pulled up Sterling Holdings' property portfolio on my phone and showed them quietly. While they were flaunting their wealth at parties, I had been quietly building an empire. Every time they mocked my modest life, I secretly bought another building, another company, another part of the city skyline. Why did you keep it a secret? My mother demanded. Because underestimation is a powerful tool, I said. People think you are powerless, and then you can do amazing things. And honestly, it's fun to watch. Dorian's hands shook as he scrolled through his phone. We can't lose the deal, he said desperately. I interrupted him. Bumont real estate stock dropped 14% after trading. The market doesn't like finding out that someone they thought was powerless actually outsmarted them. For years, you all looked down on me. Tonight, you are looking up. Magnolia sank into the cream-colored leather sofa, her designer heels slipping off her feet as she stared at me in shock. All those meetings I had while trying to secure space for my new surgical clinic. Were you talking to my assistant? Yes, I said with a sly smile. I watched every meeting from my private elevator. And by the way, you were unnecessarily rude to her. That's why your lease application was denied. You can't do this, my father said, stepping forward. We're family. Family? I asked, holding up my phone. I tapped a file and played the sound of last year's Christmas dinner. Funny thing about family, they rarely notice what's right in front of them when they're too busy looking down their noses. My phone buzzed again. Bloomberg wanted an interview. Forbes wanted a cover story. Analysts from Wall Street wanted meetings. Family should stick together now that we know about your success. My mother tried again. Now that I'm worth billions and the daughter you dismissed turns out to be more powerful than you thought. I paused. I already work with many of your businesses. We are already connected, whether you like it or not. Dorian tried to speak quickly. Now we can work together? Sterling already owns the building your headquarters sits in, Dorian, I said, smiling. And most of your regional offices. Magnolia, your clinics? Sterling owns the buildings. Cashin, your tech campuses? Sterling owns some of those too. And your law firm? Your offices are part of Sterling's portfolio as well. We are connected. The room was silent. It was quiet enough that you could hear the faint ticking of the grandfather clock in the corner. I raised my glass of champagne. I never needed to prove myself to the Bumont family, I said. I just needed to own you. My father swallowed hard. What do you want? One, I said softly. I laughed quietly, letting it echo in the grand room. I already have it. I explained that every rent check they wrote, every contract they signed, and every deal they closed was probably done with a company I owned. My phone buzzed one last time. A photo appeared from my real assistant, Zinnia, showing the Sterling Holdings logo being mounted on what used to be the Beaumont Tower. Now, if you'll excuse me, I said, turning toward the door. I have interviews to give about how I built a billion-dollar empire while my family laughed at my so-called job. Odette, wait, Magnolia called out. I turned back. Oh, and Magnolia, about your mansion, you might want to check who owns your mortgage now, I said. Sterling acquired your bank last week. As I walked out, I heard Dorian's phone ring. It was probably investors demanding answers. My mother clutched her pearls. My father stood frozen in place. I slid into my waiting Rolls-Royce. Sometimes the best revenge isn't telling everyone about your success. It's letting them find out slowly, seeing how badly they underestimated you. The morning after my big revelation, Savannah's business world was in chaos. Sterling Holdings stock climbed higher and higher, while Beaumont real estate stock fell. My phone hadn't stopped buzzing since I left the party. I sat in my real office on the top floor of Sterling Tower, watching the sunrise spill over the city that I quietly owned. Zinnia, my assistant, walked in carrying a stack of newspapers. You might enjoy these, she said, laying them out. The headlines read, Hidden Billionaire Odette Bumont Shocks Savannah's Elite, Secrets and Empire Revealed, From Mockery to Mogul, and The Stealth Power Behind the Skyline. And these just arrived, she added, handing me a pile of messages. Magnolia, please call. Need to discuss your mortgage. Dorian, our investors are panicking. Meeting ASAP. Mother, darling, breakfast. Let's clear the air. Father, family emergency meeting. Your presence is required. Mark them all as read, I told Zinnia. I asked about the Beaumont Tower transformation. Zinnia pulled up the security feed. Workers were removing all traces of the Beaumont name from the building and replacing it with the Sterling logo. In the lobby, Dorian is arguing with security, Zinnia said. My security? I asked. Let him up, she asked. No, I said, leaning back in my chair and smiling. Not today. Let him feel what it's like to be shut out. Just as he had me escorted out of Beaumont Real Estate's offices 5 years ago, my phone rang. It was Magnolia's law firm flashing on the screen, realizing that their office lease, building mortgage, and key client contracts all ran through Sterling Holdings subsidiaries. Miss Bumont, CNN is here for your interview, Zinnia said from the doorway. Perfect timing. I stood up and smoothed the lapels of my deep emerald green suit. No more hiding behind modest navy pants suits for camouflage. Let's show the world what a mere assistant can accomplish, I said confidently. The interviewer sat in my office, looking through the big windows that went from the floor all the way to the ceiling. Outside, I could see Savannah's tall buildings stretching across the city. More and more of them now belonged to me. I watched as sunlight glinted off the glass towers. It was beautiful, and it made me think about how far I had come. Miss Beaumont, the interviewer said, flipping through her notes, people are amazed at how you built such a big business quietly. How did you do it? I smiled. People didn't think I was important, so no one paid attention. My own family didn't believe in me, but that actually helped me. While they were showing off their small successes, I quietly bought the buildings where they worked. They never noticed what I was doing. They laughed, they ignored me, and I worked in silence. She looked down at her notes again, trying to keep up with me. Your company now owns a lot of Savannah's important buildings, right? Yes, I said, correcting her gently. 42% of the city's prime commercial buildings. Just this morning, we bought the Henderson buildings. Funny thing, my brother Dorian was trying to buy them too, but I got there first. My phone buzzed. Dorian's company's stock was down again. He didn't even know what hit him. Your family must be shocked, the interviewer said. How did they react? They are learning a new reality, I said, keeping my voice calm. The sister they didn't take seriously now owns their offices. I control their loans, and I can influence their businesses. They are realizing that underestimating me was a huge mistake. Just then, the front desk called. Magnolia had arrived to talk about her clinic leases. My assistant Zinnia, always smooth and calm, said, Your 10 a.m. acquisition meeting is ready. I turned back to the interviewer with a small smile. Would you like to see how a simple assistant runs a big business? Lawyers, bankers, and business experts filed in. On the video screen, Dorian's face appeared with his board of directors behind him. He looked confused. Thank you for joining, I said. Let's talk about Sterling Holdings buying Beaumont Real Estate. Dorian's eyes got big. Buying us? He asked. Yes, I said with a smile. We are offering to buy your company at a good price below the usual market value because of your recent problems. You can't do this, Dorian shouted, leaning forward. Yes, I can, I replied. Sterling already owns 17% of your shares without you noticing. Your stock went down, which has made your loans risky. And guess what? Sterling also owns the banks giving you those loans. You need money immediately, or your company could fail. Dorian's jaw tightened. I'm offering a solution, I said calmly. The CNN interviewer sat there, eyes wide, completely silent, as I explained everything step by step. I could see the shock on Dorian's board members' faces. This is corporate terrorism. Dorian sputtered. No, I said, leaning forward slightly. This is business. The business you said I would never understand. The success you said I couldn't achieve. I turned to the board members. You have 1 hour to say yes to this offer before I call your loans. The video screen erupted with angry voices. My phone buzzed again. Security said Magnolia had now joined my parents in the lobby. Zinnia, I said without looking up, please tell my family that I'm busy conducting business. If they want to speak with me, they can make appointments through proper channels. Zinnia gave a faint smile. Exactly, she said. I turned back to the cameras. Now, shall I show you how someone quietly built the South's largest commercial real estate empire while her family ignored her? Sometimes the best revenge isn't just winning. It's winning so much that the people who doubted you become your tenants. Their teasing becomes your motivation. Their buildings become yours. Their laughter becomes the sound of your success. By the time the sun started setting, Savannah's business world had completely shifted. Beaumont Real Estate's board had accepted Sterling's offer. My family, meanwhile, was still stranded in the lobby. My net worth grew by another $1 billion thanks to the market reaction. Final numbers for the day, Zinnia said, coming in with her tablet. Sterling stock is up 62%. 3 major acquisitions have been completed, and we have 19 interview requests from national news outlets. I glanced at the electronic ticker wrapping around Sterling Tower. The headline was clear. Sterling Holdings acquires Beaumont Real Estate. Hidden billionaire expands Southern Empire. Odette Bumont, Savannah's new power broker. I asked Zinnia about my family, still stuck near the reception desk. Your father has had 2 calls with his crisis team. Dorian is in meetings with his soon-to-be former board. Magnolia is scrambling for emergency financing. And your mother, Zinnia smirked, wants to know if you'll attend the annual charity gala next month. I smiled, remembering every dinner where they had questioned my choices and doubted my abilities. How convenient. Last year, you didn't even invite me to the gala because my career wasn't significant enough to mention. My phone buzzed again. It was a message from Dorian. You made your point. Let's talk. Should I let them up? Zinnia asked, glancing at the security feed. I studied the image. My family looked tired, frustrated, and defeated after hours waiting. Put them in conference room B. Let them wait another hour. While they sat there, I worked. I closed on 2 more commercial properties, signed 3 major development contracts, and approved lease terminations for companies that had backed Beaumont Real Estate's failed attempts to compete with Sterling Holdings. Only when the sun dipped low over the Savannah River did I finally decide to face them. They looked exactly as I had pictured, angry, rumpled, and for the first time uncertain. 8 hours, my father said as I entered. I made you wait 10 years, I said, checking my watch. The 8 hours were just a bonus. We're family, Magnolia snapped. I tapped my tablet, and the wall screen lit up with years of footage, transcripts, and quotes. Their mocking, their sabotage, their dismissal, all of it was there. We were wrong, Magnolia whispered. Yes, I said, sliding into the head seat they had always claimed as theirs. And now you need me. Loans, deals, leases. Everything sits in buildings I own. For 10 years, I built this empire while you laughed. I swiped to the latest headline. Sterling Holdings acquires Beaumont Real Estate. Here's the deal, I said. Sterling will buy the rest of your businesses cheaply. You can work under my leadership, or you will lose everything. And if we refuse? My father asked. I smiled. Good luck finding space in Savannah that I don't control. Zinnia's phone pinged. The Forbes cover was out, Savannah's shadow queen. The rise of Odette Bumont. You have until tomorrow, I said, standing. Odette, we're proud of you now, my mother called after me. That's the problem, I said without turning back. You're 10 years too late. I returned to my office. The city lights shimmered in the windows. Each tower, each deal, each victory was mine. I leaned back in my chair, thinking about how quiet years of planning and patience had turned into this moment of triumph. The city stretched below me, and every light in every building reminded me of the empire I had built. The story of being doubted, ignored, and mocked had turned into the story of success, power, and respect. I had done more than win. I had changed the entire business landscape of Savannah. Every challenge, every small failure my family had celebrated, had been my ladder to reach the top. And now, as I watched the city from my office, I knew that every single step I had taken, every careful choice, every patient move had been worth it. The wind blew softly through the open window, and the lights reflected off the towers like tiny stars on the ground. This city, this empire, this life, I had earned it. And for the first time in a long time, I felt completely, undeniably unstoppable.